first test is almost upon us. This year, under this new regime, they'll have 14 tests. 9 of those are away. How will it be different with new coaches in that environment as an All Blacks player?
I think, as All Black coaches, they'll all want to have their input, and sometimes, especially for your first test match, you've got to try and peel those back. So it's going to be hard for the coaches to know how much you can really feed into the players. And I think the selection's going to be really interesting as well. I personally think they'll go for as much experience as you can, because traditionally our first test match has been our worst. And it's always hard to gel a team. You've got new voices, new coaches, new traditions, as Mills mentioned, but also you've got to keep it relatively simple against what is a very good English side. After the first test of a lot of seasons, the word rust comes out, is the fact they're a bit rusty, yeah. Guys getting combinations, working together. They've a huge number of players they've put in this camp together, trying to understand exactly where they're going. We haven't seen the All Blacks since the Rugby World Cup final. Let's put in the context, and there's a significant number of players who played in that game. And when you talk to them before the Super Rugby season even started, a lot of them were still hurting. I think a lot of them are still hurting from that fact that they didn't quite get the job done. And this is the start of their next journey, their next step forward, as they try and chase something in 4 years' time, right? In 3 years' time from now. So I'm really excited about that fact, that now they have to make a change, they have to do something slightly different, but they have to get better. But by the same token, what a great first challenge, because I think England are really good. Yeah. They know how to win. They've been successful. They were the most improved team, I believe, if you look at the Six Nations. Look, they were the only team to beat Ireland. So they're coming in with some real form coming into this tour. You talked about the extra players that they've brought into the squad. Of course, 32 names we've read out on Monday, but they actually have 41 that have been in camp with the All Blacks in Wellington. They've got the 4 players that are in there as injury cover. That is David Havili, Ruben Love, George Bauer and Sam Derry. Peter Lakai is in there as an apprentice-type player. Will Jordan, Sam Kane and Josh Lord have been in there. Those 3 aren't available until the Rugby Championship, though. You asked Richard about his expectations for England. What about your expectations of the All Blacks season this year as a whole, not just this first test against England, JK? So 14 test matches. Look, I think that, for example, if we lost next week, obviously we'd all be gutted. I'd be gutted for Razor, the new coaching staff. But then if you turn that round the following week and you have a good performance, and you win, you can say it was back to rust, as Goldie said. You go to South Africa, 2 big, massive tests over there. If you win one, lose one, I'm relatively relaxed, because I think there's a whole lot of new things coming in. So, yeah, I think 12 out of 11. That's not a 12. I mean, as an All Black, we always say 14 out of 14, right? But reality is maybe 11 or 12. Other teams, but we play Ireland, we play France, we play England away. And I would say that the great thing about this is, as much as I would prefer a 3-test series, right? We're only playing England twice. And it's the same in South Africa, they're only playing Ireland twice. It's not ideal, but we get the opportunity to play them away. So I think we play England away as well. So I'm going to count that as a 3-match series. But when you think about what's in front of the All Blacks this year, Mills, this is not an easy campaign to start with. The fact that you're coming in and you want to make some adjustments and change, and you are playing the best teams in the world, all of them, in the first season. Do I have a number? What would be a successful season? If you win 11 or 12 of these test matches, it's a really good year, if you ask me, because we're up against some world-class teams. We're not the #1 side in the world. That's South Africa. They've proven that. They've gone out and done it, and they were really good last weekend. Going and winning over there is going to be a real challenge, Mills.
Oh, man. Even just talking about it now, it's not till, we got to test week, you think, this is going to be a massive year. Massive in terms of the games they're going to play, even the English. You talk about 12. If they lost the first 2, would you still be happy with the rest of the season? But there's no doubt about it. I think we've got to keep the Blues, though. That's a given. Even though the Aussies have got a new coaching, I think we need to keep, by the time we get to the championship, we should be on a flow and not rusted to be able to come away and sort of win that. I think that's a definite goal, but to put a number on it, I'd be happy with 9.
Really?
Yeah, I'd be happy.
You're happy to drop 5 test matches this year?
I think I'd be happy with 9. I think with the way, you just said it, we're not the #1 team. Okay.
Yeah, but
I find this so hard to actually take my heart and soul out and put my brain in.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, it's so hard for me because I just want to win them all.
Every week you do it, so there's nothing changes. I know it's difficult. Look, I'm excited about it because we've got some new faces, but also I see some guys who would have learnt so much from last year's experience. The fact they would have come through all the adversity, and we talk about the teams getting better through adversity. A lot of these players have been through that, you know, and Razor has talked about the fact that he doesn't believe they necessarily have to lose to get better because he thinks and believes he understands that, but I think he's got a group of players who understand it, who are determined and love the jersey, who felt it last year. We felt it there. You know, I'm looking at this group and I get a sense that they will come together really quickly, and I think that they'll want to put out some strong performances.
You're making me nervous, JK.
Oh no, it's just my heart. It's just I just don't like when we lose. So tell me about debutants.
Well, he said 9. He said 9. That should make you nervous.
France, you're going to England. You're going to Ireland. South Africa. These 4 already, right? The Springboks as well. So I mean.
But the expectations are to win 89-90% to uphold the All Blacks legacy, JK.
Yeah, I also think there's another thing. This team has to build to the World Cup. Okay, so how many debutants are we going to see in the first few weeks? None. I believe that the first test match is going to be fundamental for this team. They'll want to win it. It's the hardest one to win because we're all rusty. So do you play Bowden or do you play Perofeta at fullback? That's sort of the biggest win for me. TJ Perenara, Finlay's our incumbent. He's been playing well during the competition, but with such a big forward pack against you, do you want the old extra loose forward Mills, you know, a bit of a bigger 9? So that's another position I'm thinking about.
Are you picking anyone, or are you just going to name everyone in the squad?
No. Well,
that's the easy thing to do is we go 1 or 2. I mean, who would you play at halfback?
Finlay.
Yeah, and I'm very much the same. I don't worry. I think.
Well, who would you play at fullback then? Perofeta or Barrett?
I'd play Barrett. But I think at the halfback situation, I think Christie deserves the opportunity we've seen. He's actually fresh because he only played the last month with the Blues, essentially. He was out for a long period of time, so he's actually got his legs back under him quite nicely, and he's come to the Blues at the right part of the season. We saw his performances, and I think he's tough. I think he is that nugget. He plays way bigger than his size. He's got a big ticker. He mixes it up, and when he needs to, he's good with ball in hand. So, look, I'm really happy with him at halfback.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's coming into some good form. I think it's been a blessing that he's been out with injuries and he's hit the form at the right time. I think his relationship also with Leon McDonald, having been at the Blues and before that the Marcos, and I think he's just finding some confidence. I mean, we heard him earlier before. He's refreshed. You know, he's raring to go. His kicking game has come on, and defensively. Against a very big sort of English pack.
So now I'm going to go, right, McKenzie, Barrett, Ioane, don't know, and Barrett at fullback with Perofeta on the bench.
A lot of don't knows.
You know, don't know, eh?
I think
the wings is probably, for me, of all the positions, is the hardest to find out and look what they're looking for. If we're playing England, because they talked about when they named the squad was selected to specifically beat these sides they're playing, right? So, Mills, who are you playing on the wing?
Well, I think a lot of it has to be determined who plays at fullback, right? And I think they might possibly play Damien McKenzie at fullback and put Barrett at 10. I think that could be definitely an option. And then you'd go, okay, if you're looking at aerial skills, the one guy that's been very good in the air has been Caleb Clark. And then...
Millsy, that was left field. You're gonna,
why would you put Bowden at 10? He's coming back from Japan. We know that players don't tend to come back in the best international form. Why would you put him there instead of Damien, who's had a whole...
You've got a Centurion there, right? I mean, when you're coming back and the stuff, the experience is key. You spoke about the experience and sort of what he sort of brings. In big matches, he's well refreshed from coming back from Japan. I think, you know, and last year I said he should be at fullback, and he didn't end up playing fullback. I think now, with the way he is, he's calmer influence. He plays 10, put McKenzie at the back as a void because of the way that, you know, because Will Jordan's out.
It said like
I can't agree, Mills.
It said like someone who knows something. That's what
you were down in the camp. But there's no way, Mills. There's absolutely no way. Because I think that you've got to say to Damien, if he's your 10, it's your football team, right? I think Bowden has played at fullback. He hasn't played at 10 for a little while, and he can play fullback at test level coming back from Japan. But I think you've got to go to your first 5. Your team, brother. Here we go. And I think Damien's been playing enough there I think I just can't see it happening, mate.
I think this is a really important conversation around how we're going to play, and that's where you're coming from. And I look at Damien McKenzie, there's a lot of things he does from the backfield for the Chiefs, because ultimately he'll kick and retreat and he'll be the guy in the backfield, you know. So how they use him, quite often he's the guy at the back door. I look at a lot of this though, and I'm trying to, in my own head, go, there's a lot of scribes talking about a revolution. The game doesn't change fundamentally, does it, Mills, in terms of the way the game is played? What can Scott Robertson and all these coaches essentially do differently, significantly differently than the All Blacks have done in the last 2 or 3 years? Given we found something by the end of last season, the fact that we got so close and we almost won a Rugby World Cup final with 14 men on the pitch, right? So what is it that they can actually seriously tweak that changes the way that we play?
Well, I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. I mean, our DNA is playing on top of the ground, right? And that's where we're our best, you know. We went away from that. We wanted bigger forwards to try and combat the bigger athletes that we were sort of facing, the likes of the English. I think the structure and our skill set is still the best, you know. When we look at the skill set of numbers 1 to 8, they can all play like backs. But how do we make sure that we still win the physical battle, but a smart physical battle? And that set piece, you know, our scrum. Look, we only have to look at the Blues, right? I mean, how many 39 penalties that they got throughout the whole season? So we've got that there. Now we need mobility. We need that mobility back that we sort of perhaps lost in the last couple of years around our bigger boys.
I think we're seeing the change through selection. I think we're seeing a different front row especially. So I think we're going for a bigger athlete. So I think they'll want to play a different style. I don't think we can win the next World Cup unless we show some innovation.
So
how long are we doing?
Who are they? How long on you say?
How long are we doing?
Who's playing ahead of?
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Yeah, okay.
Let me finish. How long have everyone been doing pods, right? What's the innovation from the pod play that everyone does? I mean, are we going to change the game through athletes, or are we going to change it through tactics and like the technical side?
Yeah.
So well, you know, Tamaiti, I think his build is Tossi. That build, I think, is coming.
So you just talked about experience. They're not experienced, so
no, I don't think we'll do it straight away.
They won't feature.
I think we've got 4 years to work this out.
You're going to wait 4 years? That's a long time to wait. It's a long time to wait. I mean, I say
those guys aren't going to play this week.
Okay, yeah, no doubts whatsoever. We've got the talent, but we've also lost Brodie Retallick, Sam Whitelock, Aaron Smith, Ruchi Mwanga, some really important pieces of our puzzle. Dane Coles, and you think how good he was for the All Blacks last year. So I'm just saying in the fact that we're going to have to evolve, get better. If you look across and what's happening, Ireland is still really, really good. France aren't the same without Antoine Dupont, but I'm assuming he'll be back after the Olympics for the end of year tour. So when you see the challenges that are in front of us, I'm just trying to be realistic. Like you say, Hart will always say, I'd love us to go out and win every test match. But I think right now, this is a massive season with some teams who know who they are and have played really well in recent times.